Drink the Nation is a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably with a pour in hand. The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the hosts and guests only, and do not reflect the views of any employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or family members, especially our family members. They've asked us to be very clear about that. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. If you're in crisis, call a professional. If you're mad at something we said, we suggest journaling or emailing us with civility. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers. We're clinicians, not your clinicians. And we have the bourbon to prove it. Let's go. All right. I think the music will have stopped. So welcome to the inaugural pilot recording, the first episode of Shrink the Room. I think that our title is why are we even doing this? Our subtitle, but I'm going to say, man, are we doing this? Are we doing this, Colonel? All right.
It feels a touch, actually the whole process feels just a little bit narcissistic.
Incredibly so.
Maybe that fits. Oh, yeah, we have a voice that people need to hear.
Or at least we think they do.
Exactly.
At least a voice that I want to hear.
Right.
Yours,
right.
That is. Yours.
Yeah.
So
sweet sounds.
Beautiful. So what is this? Two docs, eventually three, hopefully a moderator host of some type. Two bourbons. One big question.
Yeah.
The hell is happening?
Are you drinking?
To America's Prey. And are you drinking? I am.
Yeah.
So here's our first pour.
Mm-hmm.
This is our segment. Welcome. So I'm Dave. We'll go with that. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a tech nerd. That's who I am. That's what I do. I am former military. I'm the computery guy, I guess. That's my shtick.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're doing a single barrel of Four Roses. And next.
All right.
To you.
So I guess I'm either Dr. Whiskey or Rob, also a psychiatrist, 25 years-ish, with about 30 years-ish in the military. Not exactly a national security expert, but certainly my 30 years has taught me to be very astute in how I watch the news and assess how it's going to impact me. And I suppose also I have at this point, I have some forensic experience and expertise, and I'm drinking my go-to bourbon. So I have a theory about bourbon. That theory is that there is no such thing as a great bourbon. There is no reason to spend $300 or $400 on bourbon. I'm drinking Jim Beam Black Label. It's my go-to bourbon. There is no such thing as a great bourbon, but there is also no such thing as a bad bourbon. There are bourbons best drank in an alley behind a dumpster. That'd be Old Crow. But in general, bourbon has such a restricted...
How many times have you woken up?
Couple. Bourbon has such a restricted ingredient list and requirements that they all pretty much come out the same. So whether you're doing the lower end or the upper end, it's about the same. So my go-to is Jim Beam Black Label, and I might expand my repertoire as we progress.
Wow, that's was that blasphemous in some way? Well, kampai, cheers,
sure for some
whatever
people.
you want to say. Yeah.
For some people who have invested that $300.
We lost half our audience in the first 5 minutes. Good job. All right.
Yeah, no. There are some. Yeah. There are some purists who probably will disagree with me and tell me how I'm wrong. Personally, drank a lot of them, and I find they're, alcoholic beverages. And I like bourbon, prefer it over anything else, but do not believe there is a bourbon worthy of more than what I pay for Jim Beam Black Label.
Well, there we go. All right. Well, cheers to you. Cheers to
Yeah, cheers.
this new venture. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see if we can get anybody back after you just torched bourbon. So
I didn't torch it.
which is on the.
I hold it in high regard. I hold it in high
Yes.
regard. It's better than.
Yeah.
I mean,
as you wake up behind a dumpster in a
right.
back alley.
I mean, well, think of all the clear alcohols made for skinny white women, I believe. None of them touch a candle, not even close to the beauty and majesty of the American whiskey.
That's true. All right. So why? Let's move on. I suppose we can move on.
Sally forth.
We do the therapy before the therapy, as we're trying to call our little venture here, shrink the room. Any good therapy sort of starts off with that, why now? And given everything that's been happening in the last 6 months, a lot has happened, but in reality, this has been going on for a while, right? The culture has shifted quite a bit. And so why are we doing this? Why does this exist? So what are we here for? What's our goal? What do you think?
It's a lot to lay on my shoulders there.
I know. I mean, my goal here is to come up with crazy, wild conspiracy theories, get loaded.
Yeah, of course. Get loaded.
Hawk product that obviously won't. No.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Right.
All right. So for me, honestly, as opposed to dishonestly, I suppose, I am hoping to help myself. So there's this sense that has been growing 10 years, minimum of 10 years, in which I find myself perplexed. The sense that I'm locked out, I'm not engaged, that I don't understand what's going on most of the time. I look at things and I think, this is straightforward. Here's the path. And then the path goes somewhere other than where I think logic should take us, or reason should take us, or history should take us. So I'm hoping to make sense of things for me in a bigger sense. Also, hoping that this might resonate with some other folks who are feeling equally perplexed by current situation. I don't like the fact that I've gotten to a point where I do not feel as connected to the nation's character.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's been in this environment, I should say. It seems like it's been this way it's been coming for a long time. Just the loudest, most obnoxious voices, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Everybody, they just get the most attention, and it's just if you say it enough, it becomes real when it isn't real, right? Just repeating yourself doesn't make it more real, and yet somehow, gosh, it's becoming that way. And we're just everything's coming out to these fringes, right? Everything's off to the side. And geez, I want to live in the middle. I want to live, or at least what I think the middle is. And yeah, I agree. You feel, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know that I moved a whole lot, but I definitely feel more lost. And maybe it's because everyone else has kind of ran into their sort of tribes off to the edges, and everyone who stayed in that middle zone got left behind. And so, yeah, I definitely want to rediscover what that means. Maybe pull some people along, help them rediscover what normal is or can be. And then anybody who's feeling really, really lost, or maybe they get to that point where they're feeling like this is a little bit too far on either side, right? On the edges, that they want to kind of come back. Maybe they get a little bit too caught up, right? As you kind of look around and you go, wait a minute, this isn't what I was expecting. Hopefully the exhausted middle, I guess would be the way to say it, right? Maybe we can kind of help build that back up.
You say the exhausted middle, and it's probably fundamentally it. I guess I've And I'm a part of them. I'm there, exhausted and generally disengaged. That somewhere along the line, federal politics became such the central focus. And as it turns out, you and I, other than casting a vote every 2 years, every 4 years, there's not much we can do about it. There's just not. We can watch these things happen. We can put them in the context of history. We can think about the past, and we can think about, wow, this must have been very much what it was like as we were, another group of people were marching toward, I hesitate to already, episode 1, Nazi. I'm just throwing, I don't want to do that. That carries weight. But we are at a point where we are disengaged from local and very much engaged in federal, and our ability to touch and impact, manipulate the federal is limited. It always has been. That's not new. It's just now, because there is this incredible void between the two, everyone's thinking federally, everyone's thinking nationally, constantly, and it's impacting us locally.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of leads us, though, to another point, which is why us? What does it, why does it matter what we think? And the truth is, it really doesn't. I mean, I guess we would say it doesn't really matter what you or I think. But as a psychiatrist, as somebody who kind of holds at a unique perspective on the human psyche, what do we offer? What can we sort of offer here? I'll kind of let you start, and then I'll blather on and add if I can.
Well, that is the unique skill set you bring, is the blathering on.
Let me get a few more of these in, and I'll do it. I'll turn pink, and I'll go for it.
Own it. So, I've thought of this, and we have had many discussions in many different venues on these topics. And it made me wonder, is this unique? Is our perspective somehow unique? Is this the first time a psychiatrist has ever thought in these terms? As it turns out, no. Because one of the patterns that you'll probably detect very quickly, and if you spend any time with me, you'll find there's a book. There's always a book. If you
shocking.
Shocking. There's a book.
Surprising. Rob's got a book.
Yep. Here's the thing that did surprise me. So in 1919, a gentleman named George Everett Partridge wrote a book called The Psychology of Nations, and it was contributing to a philosophy of history series. And in that book, he identified the collective psychology of nations. And he said that there's 4 elements. There's a national identity. There's the collective behavior of a nation, the national narrative, and then the shared values of the nation. And I'll tell you, when I was looking at that, it really resonated with me, particularly at this moment in time, because we are faced culturally with some big questions, some issues. We are at a point in our history in which the information coming at us is probably bigger than what we can actually absorb as a human. We have access to the collective knowledge of history. It's too much. And because of that, and because we are sitting at a point in which there are significant socioeconomic issues, adjustments. Many people who are working jobs right now are working jobs that either they are aware or they have an inkling that robots will be doing these jobs within the next decade. And it creates a lot of a scenario. Yeah, your job, a robot could do your job, could sit in on your meetings.
Well, tell me what you think about that, though. How does that make you feel?
I'm still trying to assess it. Actually, I'm trying to make sense of it. I don't know what to feel about it. I really
interesting.
Don't. From my standpoint, I think about, say, primary care, and I think, what, an AI doc probably could do a primary care physician's job, but to protect my core.
And there goes the rest of our
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There goes the rest of the audience. All right.
Everyone's gone. But no, I mean, in order to do good primary care, and this isn't the outliers, but to do good primary care, it's following the recommendations that this is what you need to do in order to screen for cancer, and this is what you need to do. This is the age, and this is what they need. They need this vaccination. They need this screening tool. They need whatever. And where we fall short sometimes in medicine is that we're not AIs. And we miss these things, and we have all these tools that help us. I think, okay, maybe in that environment, maybe everyone should come through, see an AI doc, and be routed to the things that the recommendations say. Now, behind those recommendations is science, is the science that says this is what you should do. I don't think an AI is going to be able to do that. I really don't. But I might be surprised. And then I think, okay, my job, I'm a psychiatrist, and it requires a higher level. And I'm not saying smarter by any means. I'm trying now desperately to pull back in my limited audience that we don't have. But I think, okay, I have a job that requires a lot of thinking that is truly outside the box. Can an argument be made that psychiatry would be better suited by AI? Because if you look at all the recommendations on this is how you treat depression, you give them this medicine, you wait X number of weeks, then you give them that medicine, you wait X number of weeks, and then you try this combination or however it is. They're there, and the success rates are there. So if you're removed from the tension of sitting with another human who is desperate, maybe you would do a better job. I don't know. Now, then I think, okay, my job as an administrator, it's probably solid. I think it's solid. But I don't understand how an AI could do that. But they may. I mean, give it 5 years. I've been
I mean,
playing
you would think the job as an administrator might be easier to replace than the job as a clinician. But, to some extent, I think the task of going through the algorithmic treatment is something that AI could do. It's sort of when you're derailed, when the algorithm's not working, which is sort of when you or I come in play anyway. As a psychiatrist, right? Like you were not to. I mean, this kind of gets completely off topic of what we're talking, which is fine. I mean, that's a point, right? Like, but exactly, yeah. But that's when you or I get involved, right? Is when write a prescription for escitalopram, wait 4 to 6 weeks, that didn't work. Raise the dose, wait 4 to 6 weeks, that didn't work. Change it to sertraline, wait 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, that didn't work. Raise it, wait 4 to 6 weeks. Now what? Send it to a psychiatrist. That's sort of the model that is already followed. That could be done probably by AI, and often but it's sort of we're kind of, that's sort of what we do, right?
Right.
Is to kind of figure out, well, why didn't that work? Or at least that's how it should be. I mean, it would be lovely if all day, every day, I got the wiffle ball depression, anxieties that are really super easy, that respond to the lowest possible dose of a simple antidepressant.
And you don't
they have to worry about. Yeah, no, and we don't. But that's a story for another day.
Well, but I think, actually, I'm going to tie this back into the overall picture, actually.
Please do. I will be impressed.
I detect enough anxiety in you and I in the efforts to justify our existence that I can then extrapolate that out to a different population who may have a little harder time extrapolating that making those connections. And I can say, all right, now I understand why their anxiety is what their anxiety is. And there's some great quotes on this, but fervor is the defense of uncertainty. I could not find who said that. I know I have it somewhere because I have a great book of quotes. I think quotes are like the poetry of life. It's like life distilled. You take a quote and it encapsulates something really important in tiny, tiny words. I did find something interesting, though. Fervor is the weapon of choice for the impotent. And that was a guy named Frantz Fanon. And Frantz Fanon was, this is how he's described, which I loved. He's a Marxist, humanist, political radical, and Pan-Africanist. And this is middle of 19th century, actually. And he focused on the psychopathology of colonization. No, I'm sorry, colonialization. The bourbon's
Doing its job.
Yeah, and what
soon
will be curious,
you'll wake up tomorrow morning behind a
right?
dumpster in an alley. So
Right, exactly.
perfect.
But in an
Doing
alley
its
behind a dumpster with a bottle of Old Crow in my hand, questioning all my life decisions. At any rate, that uncertainty, which translates into fervor, I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing a lot of fervor. This I hesitate to say mindless, but this sort of aggressive belief in something that provides an alternative narrative. Even if that alternative narrative, and I know we'll talk about this later, but rationalization, that alternative narrative is maybe not tied to logic, maybe not tied to reason, and it will probably not be how history unfolds. But for right now, gonna fight it hard, and I'm gonna get behind anybody who I feel has that cause.
all right. So I do believe that psychiatrists, we have that ability to take a peek at the picture, the whole, a bigger, a third person perspective, I should say. The view of what's going on, and hopefully in a behavioral perspective on what's happening with somebody in relationships, in a culture, country, what have you.
So you think insight? We're trying to provide the audience with insight.
Yeah, I guess that's probably a better word than my random amalgamation of loosely conjoined phrases. Yeah, no, absolutely. Insight. Trying to provide that perspective of why, what's happening. Hopefully, and to sort of normalize the feeling that we're all sort of experiencing as we're kind of going through this, and to say, yeah, if you're feeling anxious about what's happening, sure, yeah, we all are, right? Like we're all kind of feeling anxious. Yeah, that's a pretty legit response, and I do think that our ability to do that with some kind of calm is certainly helpful. But we can also do that without necessarily taking a side, or pointing hopefully too much blame. I think one of the things that came out of this that I wasn't surprised to see, but saw a lot of in this last election cycle, was a lot of finger pointing, right? A lot of blame on like who's at fault. One, I don't know that it matters, right? Like so much, but more of a, let's understand where we're at. Let's sort of understand the moment, and where do we go from here? I think that's sort of the bigger thing, right? Like find a safe space to sort of unpack it.
Josh, David, that sounds way too woke. That's not popular.
I don't know
right
that
now.
I don't know that it's woke. Well, maybe it is a safe. Well, is that
Safe
woke?
space. It's pretty woke.
Okay, well, woke. I mean, a place to say like, yeah, I don't know that I appreciate this, but to beat down somebody who's saying like, yeah, I this is what I thought what I was voting for was something different than what I voted for. Where you're like wanting to beat them to death for voting for something and then it not being what they wanted, right? I think that's sort of the point, because when you're saying like you did this, well, maybe, but that doesn't really help.
It does not.
It doesn't help to. Yeah, I think that's the point. Is you can't really change anything. You can't change the past, right? But what you can do is you can understand this moment now, understand the plight, the things that were happening that kind of led to that, and say, well, let's do better. Let's understand it without picking sides. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, and nor should we be. I'm not. I've never once told a patient what to do with their life. It's not been my job. It will never be my job. I couldn't possibly tell you or anybody else what to do, nor would I want to. I mean, I barely know what to do with my own life, like We're
Amen. Yeah.
right. Like we're all just trying to make as many laps around the sun as possible and just trying to make it. I think we all wake up and are doing the best we can. And to understand that, I think most of us are just thinking we're doing a good job, and we don't always, do the best job. I think but let's get that perspective. I think hopefully you and I and whoever else we can get to help us, come along with us here, will bring that perspective.
Well, my leadership experience, will say, command experience, tells me that nobody gets up in the morning, looks at themselves in the mirror, and says, I'm going to go be a bad person. Everybody wants to be a decent human. My speculation is serial killers and serial rapists probably look at themselves in the morning and think, I'm not a bad guy, even if they are. Nobody wants to be a bad guy. Really, my goal with this is not to be overly political. I mean, I certainly have my own political perspectives, but this hopefully is not about politics as much as it about the psychopathology that drives some of the fervor related to those politics. I mean, you can believe what you can, and hopefully we can navigate in such a way that it does not appear that we are conservative or we are liberal, that really what we're talking about is the dynamic that drives some of the extremes or drives illogical decision making, which I guess is inflammatory in and of itself. I got to watch myself. That is really my goal for this. I would love it if someone walked away from this and said, I have no idea what those guys' politics are. I speculate, just because of the nature of the moment, there may be some perception of one or the other, but that's certainly not the goal.
Those tools on your behind you speak loud and clear.
Right.
Loud and clear.
I'll pan over to my gun safe. How about that?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, my 20 plus years and 2 branches of service mean whatever, right? But no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's these things aren't. It isn't really about. It isn't about politics. We're not politicians. I'm not a politician
yet.
Yet. No, I don't know that I want to be.
I think this ruins any chances, by the way.
No, I mean, I don't want to be, but because I don't know that I could win, or at least I believe I could win. I think in order to be a politician, you really have to believe you can't lose. I do believe that's probably a strong trait. Like, you have to kind of go out and believe that you can't possibly lose. Certainly, that's not really the goal at all. I think, again, the point is to help people kind of navigate this world in this moment, right? And hopefully make it fun. I mean, make it funny. I mean, I enjoy the conversations with you. I enjoy the conversations with our colleagues, and hopefully people will learn from that. Maybe they'll feel more engaged. Maybe they'll, want to ask questions, or some people might want to participate. That's kind of the point. I'll ask you, how do you think social media, different incentives, or media incentives, political systems reward those extremes, though? Like, what do you think?
Well, you're jumping into a pet project of mine, and I'm sure it'll get rolled out over the coming weeks. It would be way too narcissistic to say years that this will last. However, I think social media actually, and I don't know if it caused the change or it just marked the change. But, I can go backwards. I mean, I'm old enough. I remember a time before the internet. And I remember that we were able to get, we had a shared source in which we got our information. And, there were 3 channels.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Well, that was part of it. That was part of it. But no, we had 3 channels. And you could select one of 3, and they presented pretty much the same information, regardless of which channel you're on, and everyone had their preference or whatever, whoever the anchor was that drove it. And then along came, and this is as the internet ramped up, along came these specialty news outlets. And to me, these specialty news outlets started this trend toward compartmentalization, that people could avoid the things they didn't want to hear, and they could zone in on the things that just supported their belief structure and got them farther and farther away from facts. It got them toward their belief structure and where they can sit without anxiety. And then social media was the nail in that coffin. That the internet really was the nail in the coffin. Not only, and I've already said this, but not only did the advent of the internet force us actually to have way more information than humans have ever been. I mean, if we go back to our formative environment, we were never designed to be able to know the things we know, or at least have access to. We don't know them. We can just Google them. That there's a difference between Googling something and having factual knowledge of it with all of the background that's required to put context and probability in. I mean, it's very similar to like, I've got a stomach pain, Google stomach pain, cancer. It's going to pop up. All the things are going to pop up. They will not tell you the probabilities. They will tell you the possibilities. And that's what's happened to us. So I do think, and whether we were moving this way or whether it just played into this human desire to be back into a small tribe with limited information, that's what's happened. If you are I don't know, help me, insert some atypical interest here. You are a furry who loves AR-15s and tequila.
What do you think Freud would say right now about that insert?
Yeah,
wow.
You can.
You want me to? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
You want me to do like a voiceover or something different later?
Probably.
Okay,
Take that out.
I'll make it worse.
No matter what interest you have, you can find a group and you can become part of a tribe on the internet that supports that. Whereas before there was some mitigation that you kept your weirdness to yourself because the community limited you.
And there goes our furry population.
No doubt. They're gone too.
Their audience is gone.
Lost? We've lost primary care docs.
We've lost bourbon drinkers.
We've lost bourbon drinkers and furries. God damn. We're down to... I don't know who we're down.
We're basically us. We're going to be watching this later.
Pretty much. We'll laugh about it later.
There's probably a good chance that was going to happen anyway, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'll enjoy it.
Yeah. So at any rate, I do think the internet, for all its promise, for the fact that social media was, I remember when the internet became a thing and the promise was we are going to unite people. It did not. There has been no uniting that occurred. It actually has split us further and further and further. And honestly, right now we're focused on, say, in the present politics. I think 50 years from now, they're going to look back and they're going to say that was the moment that humans had to deal with technology overload. That's when we had to deal with, we have too much information at our fingertips at once that it does not suit our brains well.
I'm not sure I fully agree, but I get your point. I think it doesn't suit some of our brains well. I think it definitely doesn't suit those of us who weren't born or who were born before it happened. Yeah, those of us who were born before this happened, I think I agree. Those of us who were not exposed to it at an early age, definitely. I think this is the amount of information, the way that the internet works when your brain is cooking, as it's developing at a young age. We have billions upon billions of neurons, and our brain is prioritizing what to prune. We are products of our environment, and as we're going through our developmental years, when we don't have access to this, we are prioritizing the informational sources that you're talking about. And so not having exposure to it, it's definitely makes it difficult to really know what to do with it. And I think that is a huge challenge to people who are not adept to deal with it. For those who were born into the environment and have that kind of earlier exposure and are getting that really early exposure, I would imagine, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of data to support this for a very long time. But David Eagleman would be read some of his writing, some of his research if you want to kind of get a sense of what I'm kind of getting at here. For the children who are kind of exposed to this really early on, as the brain is getting this data input really, really early, their ability to interact with it, their brains are really adapting well. I mean, the brain can adapt to anything. It really can. And so as the technology becomes, more interfaceable, especially to a younger person, younger and younger, like you'll see you can take a child who is effectively was blind, and you can hook up a camera to them and you can actually teach them to see, which is wild. But you can actually do. I mean, this is what this is why I'm not so convinced that it's the end all. I think it's just we can't really comprehend how the internet and everything is going to impact. I think it's going to be very different. Like you and I grew up in different eras, not so different, but different enough to where my exposure to it was right on the cusp, where I was still in a developmental phase, and more than you were. And so I've got 7 screens behind me, and you've got,
Power tools.
I got power tools. If I turn my camera on,
sure you do. Sure you do. Go ahead and pretend. That's fine. No, you don't.
But
no,
but I just think I would say humanity. I mean, humans adapt. They adapt really well. I think the issue right now is really that the technology hasn't fully adapted yet. It will. I think it will. I mean, I don't know what it will look like, but I think the wearables. Better. Yeah, no, I think I mean, have you played with like the Apple Vision Pro or something like that? They're amazing. I mean,
do I look like a guy that's played with Apple Vision Pro?
I mean, yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, of course you do. You get no, you don't. But there's all these technologies are. I think they're very usable. They're user friendly. I mean, they're getting to the point where I think it's pretty impressive. And the younger that somebody can interface.
So you think the interface is going to change the fundamental fact that so much information and disinformation
yes
gets funneled in?
I mean, I think
because what we found is these companies are not willing to filter disinformation. And there's part of me that says I get that, because then they have to be the arbiter of what's real, and they don't want to be that.
Well, no, I think it means that they're not going to get the money, right? I think it's money. Unfortunately, I think there's a monetary reward to it. I mean, the more negative something is, the more dopamine hit that you get from it. You're like 6 times more likely to click on it if it's upsetting and anger provoking, right? So you're more likely to click through it. For those of us who are older, I won't name names here, but some of us on this are a little bit older than others. You're more likely to click that link if it's
two of us, jackass. There's two of us.
One of us is older. Glad it took you a while to pick that up. Pick up on that. But you're more so you're more likely to click on it. And that's clicks are money, and that's so there's a reason. But they don't. I'm sure they don't want to police it, but also I'm sure they don't want to lose money. They don't want to lose that revenue share. But that kind of comes down to does something become real? Does disinformation become fact? I mean, objectively, never. But how many times does somebody have to hear something before they believe it to be true? And apparently not that many times. Eventually people will believe things to be true as long as you keep saying it. And that's if it's something that you'll never see anyway.
Even when there's video evidence to refute it.
But that's been kind of the case for anything, right? I mean, that's if you just want to believe something is true, you can believe it's true. So I don't, as far as the future generations, I'm less worried about technology being this downfall of humanity. I think it's going to change humanity for sure. Definitely. In ways I don't know, ways I'm not really sure how that's going to look, possibly, hopefully for the better, but we'll tell, right? You and I may not be around to really experience that. We will see, but we'll find out.
You've given me like an inkling of hope, an inkling. I am going off my kids and watching my kids. I don't think they're any better managing this. I am amazed by the disinformation and belief structure that they develop based on TikTok, which is their thing. TikTok and Reels, between those two, that's where all their information comes from. And when they filter it out and come to me like, hey, insert thing, it is a shadow of the reality of it. And then also something I'm stunned with by them, and I can't put myself back at the age of 15, 16, 17, 18 to remember how I was, but I am stunned by how also they don't care. Yeah,
That it's not real.
They just don't care. They just like, they'll say, well, I'm not very political. I'm like, okay.
Just make sure you jam that subscribe button.
Yeah.
And likes. That's all I could say.
Exactly. Exactly. Whatever disinformation that really caught your eye, click that button.
Make sure you click your likes and subscribes. Yeah. That's all I can say with this. So no, but hopefully we'll provide some kind of nuance, humor, any clarity that we can. That's the goal with this, right? Now, why bourbon? Why are we doing bourbon? Especially since you hate it so much. The bourbon hater that you are waking up.
No, I love bourbon. Let me be utterly clear. I love bourbon.
Okay.
If you lay out every alcohol available to mankind, bourbon's going to be what I grab every time. It is the quintessential American whiskey. It has every flavor profile that I like in an alcohol. All I can say, and I, going backwards, apparently bourbon went through a period where it was considered the poor man's whiskey, and it's had a renaissance in the last, say, 20 years. And now, there's a lot of hipsters who want to talk bourbon. But no, I adore bourbon.
Did we just lose the hipsters? We just lost the hipsters. All right.
I'm gonna have to excuse myself from this show because ultimately you're
just alienating
people,
alienating audience. That's all right. Whatever.
I adore bourbon. And I love its simplicity. It is 51% corn alcohol, and then whatever else magic they want to add to it. And then it comes down to aging and the like. My complaint with it has been as it becomes more popular and more hip, the prices start to march up. And man, I've tried them all. And in particular, when I first started drinking bourbon, I had the massive collection. I was buying all these bottles of bourbon, different price points. Pour those babies out. There's a different flavor profile. It's just not that significant in my mind. And I prefer a rye bourbon over a wheated bourbon. I like the burn. I like there's a spiciness to it that I enjoy. Here, quick story.
We got time.
Actually, we're blowing through time, my friend.
We got all the time in the world. We could do this for 24 more hours.
That's true.
I need to make sure I said
nobody will listen this long, but I was in a formal military environment, not in uniform. It was after hours. I was welcoming some distinguished visitors from division. And we were at a restaurant that was, at least in my mind, my hillbilly back hills mind, it was a higher end restaurant, steakhouse kind of thing. And they came out, and
you can say Outback if you want.
No. Specialty steakhouse.
Logan's Roadhouse. Okay.
Very, very unique to the environment where I was at. But they came out and was one of those waiters that is both a historian and a waiter, right? So he was telling us about how this restaurant has a special relationship with Woodford Reserve, and they have a special cask. And anyway, he's going through it, and me and my XO both like, yes, we'd like, and it was like, I mean, it was a shot. I mean, or well, it was a proper cube, just the perfect cube in the middle of the glass. And anyway, later he revealed that it was $300 a shot.
That was nice of him.
Yeah. That was later.
Yeah.
At which point my XO hits me in the side and he's like, "Did we just get a $300 shot?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll see. Whatever you want. I would now just buy it because you're already blown the bank." As it turned out, we bought a $40 shot, not a $300 shot. But there is zero reason for $300 for a shot of bourbon. I do not care how rare, unique, whatever. I drank the bourbon I drank, and I promise you, if the $300 bourbon had been there, it would have been no more magical on my tongue.
I agree. Well, I don't agree. I mean, maybe they're a $300. I got to tell you, I probably would not want to pay that, but $300 for a shot myself. But who knows? Maybe it's the best damn
You ever had a Pappy?
shot.
Have you?
Not. No, I've never had Pappy Van Winkle.
It did not.
It wasn't.
I didn't dance. It wasn't
I've watched
rainbows
a lot
and
of BoJack
unicorns.
Horseman. And perhaps we'll talk about that at some point. No, so I do think why bourbon, more than because it is a lovely beverage, more is just to keep this what this is, right? Is not a stiff conversation. We're not. This isn't clinical. I don't want to get. This doesn't need to be formal. This isn't Dr. Whoever the hell. This is us trying to be us. We're really don't. We're a couple of guys who are really just trying to take the years of life experience that we have, that I have, that you have, and share, and hopefully, again, try to just help anybody else. That's what we're here for. If you are interested in, shelling out the whatever copays or hundreds of dollars that it would cost to sit down and have me do that for, and let me opine, fine. But
I think you're blowing those opportunities right now.
I promise you this is a lot cheaper, and you'll probably get the same. You'll get the same cogitations, right? Just I'm doing it with a glass of bourbon with people that I enjoy. So, and hopefully with some fun, we'll have some fun with this. That's the goal. Have some fun.
Nicely stated.
Learn some stuff. And,
amazingly, nothing to add.
Yeah. So I will say I do want to try to give maybe an absurd prescription.
Okay.
Shrink prescription.
Well, I've got a serious one, so you do the absurd. I'll do serious.
No, you can do the. Okay, I'll do. Here's my absurd one, and it's a. I don't know how absurd this is, and it'll probably sound absurd, but I really do think every member of Congress needs to pair up with another member of Congress on the opposite side of the aisle and do mandatory couples therapy. That's my prescription. Just mandatory couples therapy, coupled up.
I don't know. Maybe they should just get together and do shots of Old Crow in an alley behind a dumpster. I mean,
whilst doing shots of Old Crow behind an alley, or in an alley behind a dumpster.
Behind a dumpster.
Couples therapy. Okay, so that is my absurd. But I don't know how absurd that sounds pretty. That could work though. It could.
Old Crow is best enjoyed when there is the aroma of spoiled milk and rotten meat in the
Yeah. It was,
milieu.
I always felt like it was like the smell of, because it's like the Sunday morning behind the bar smell,
Yeah,
you know?
that's the smell.
That's the smell. You know the
Yeah,
smell.
I know the smell. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also can recall the taste of my mouth. Not good, not good. I actually have a serious one though,
Okay.
and I was trying to come up with something absurd. And I kind of leaned in on you for that one.
I thought that was pretty serious,
Yeah,
but
I think it might be valuable.
okay.
It's not going to
You don't
happen.
think it'll work? Okay.
No, I
Come
actually
on.
think it would work
Yeah.
if they
Maybe
were put,
without the old crow.
but probably.
Who is
Although
the old crow we're talking about, though?
Old Crow bourbon.
I'm just, yeah, that one went right over your head.
Yeah, it did. Yes. So I actually do have what I think is a serious recommendation that would be beneficial. And that is I live in an area that is rural country. I am frequently struck by how good the relationships are between people right up until the time they get on Facebook and start spouting their political beliefs. And then the animosity comes. In person, together, get along beautifully, that help each other. They're there. They're present. And then they get on Facebook and something weird happens in which the political belief structure starts to divide and become much more intense. So what I think from a very serious standpoint, I think getting folks involved locally would make a difference. And whether I'm not saying you have to run for political office, I'm not saying, don't join the school or run for the school board or whatever offices are locally, because actually as soon as you start running, then all of a sudden they start asking you questions about what's your stance on abortion. I'm like, well, it's for county clerk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have any. It doesn't matter, does it? But it does. Is getting involved locally, and that could be at a homeless shelter or a food bank or at the local school, volunteering your time to engage, be around people. That the more we're actually not on Facebook or insert whatever the cool social media is at this moment, the
MySpace.
get
I'm
out
friends
there,
with Tom.
make yourself a MySpace page. No, but the more we engage with one another as humans
Yeah.
together for a goal that betters the local community in which we actually have some power over, we can actually make our local community better. I think that it helps. It makes a difference nationally. So, was it think national, act locally, or whatever the old thing was? But, ultimately, I think people just need to think locally much more.
I love it. So we had one serious recommendation, mine, and then the absurd one
The
that
absurd,
people clearly won't do. But
yeah, people aren't going to get
no,
involved. What?
people won't get involved. No, that's lovely, and no, you're absolutely right. People getting out, spending time together, getting off of social media, the ability to, as you were, yeah. We'll talk more about that on future episodes, but
I'm sure we will.
we'll want to take this moment to say thank you to anybody who stuck with us thus far. We promise it'll get better. This is the inaugural pilot run, and it was fun. I had fun. Hopefully,
It was a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna add. We have actually a lot of I think really interesting stuff lined up. We've got a lot of good topics. We got some interesting format that we're really looking at. This was just a way to kind of test our mics, make sure that stuff like the backdrops working. Rob is still in the middle of building his house or whatever the hell he's doing.
Yep.
Just making sure everything works, and it looks like it works. We'll actually see if we recorded any of this. I'm not sure we did. We're going to test them. We'll test the music and make sure everything works. We're going to hopefully pull some sound bites out of this, maybe get some socials going. I think that actually is the plan. As much as we're like bashing on social media, I'm sure we'll have them. So follow us, subscribe, share. put some reviews in that are positive. 1 stars, like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Who cares? Narcissistic as they are. And then the next episode 1, we're going to talk about maybe some, I think, grandiosity is the big topic. So thanks for hanging in there. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the pod. I'm looking forward to it. Until next time, that was it. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, it was great.
That was fun. All right, see ya. Out.